let's go back to New Mexico and see what Veryl's doing. And all of her life she had been intrigued, particularly with Molly. It was Molly who touched her. And so one day she decided that she would do a sculpture of Molly feeding the little buffalo. And she just started this piece, and one day the phone rang, and it was probably 2000, the year 2000. And a voice on the other phone said, "Hello, Veryl, this is," and he gave his name. And Veryl's eyes lit up, and she mentioned to her husband, Roger, it's the man who owns this ranch near Yellowstone, and he said, "Veryl, we have this orphan buffalo here at Yellowstone. Would you and Roger be interested in coming to get the buffalo and taking it back to New Mexico?" And Veryl and Roger absolutely said, "Yes, we will come and get it." So they flew up the next day in Roger's aeroplane, picked up Charlie, who hadn't been named at that particular time, and brought him back to Buffalo Spirit Ranch. They bottle fed Charlie. In fact, you've seen the picture of Charlie standing by this refrigerator with Roger giving him the bottle. The refrigerator in my kitchen was there when the house was built. Charlie thrived. The idea was to reinstate him in a herd eventually, but in the meantime, this was Charlie's home. And he really, what's the word I'm looking for? He bonded with Veryl and with Roger. And he spent an awful lot of time actually in this house. I have a book here that was written by a friend of theirs called A Buffalo in the House. And it tells the story of Charlie. And actually, it was Veryl who decided to call him Charlie after her great uncle, Charles Goodnight, from the ranch down in the Texas Panhandle. So Charlie thrived, and the day came when they thought it was time to reintroduce him to a herd of buffalo. This was their purpose. So they took him back up to the Yellowstone area, and they introduced him to a herd, and Charlie wasn't having any of it. And they said, well, let's just leave him with them for a couple of days and maybe he'll adjust and everything. Well, sadly, one night while he was in one of the corrals and nobody was around, he must have bumped into one of the iron railings around the paddock and hurt his neck very badly. And by this time he was 2 years old, and from this tiny buffalo he'd become this huge animal, 2,000 pounds, I believe. And sadly, he didn't do very well recovering from this accident. So Veryl and Roger brought him back to Buffalo Spirit Ranch, and he lived for 1 more year, and then sadly he died, and they were both heartbroken, and they buried Charlie in one of the paddocks down here